All right, good afternoon. Got to work yesterday and put last week's game to bed, and started on Tennessee yesterday afternoon. Guys had a great night of practice, rather. Like to, before I get started, congratulate our Mason Thomas for being named the Bronco Nagurski Defensive Player of the Week. It's been a long time coming for him. As well, just from an injury standpoint, and it's good to see him get started off to a great start this season. Also recognize Deion Burks. I think he's got these 22 catches that he's had through 3 games is the most ever in a start, first-time starter for us. So that's probably pretty good company if you look at the rest of the guys on that list. And then just want to I know it caught a little bit of news last night, Owen Heineke being awarded not by myself, but walk-ons chose to basically pay for his school this year. Really cool moment, and for them to match Danny's a gift of $50,000 to several of the walk-ons. Pretty cool thing by them to do that. I know that is certainly appreciated by all those freshmen. Excited to start conference play. You know, our first ever SEC game. So pretty cool to be a part of that history, and hard to argue that anyone in college football is playing better ball than Tennessee right now, led by their freshman quarterback, Nico. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Iam Lava, probably pretty close, but I butchered it some. So, but man, what a talent! You know, he's named the Citrus Bowl MVP in his first start against the University of Iowa last year, and he's fun to watch. Man, he's incredibly talented, strong arm, great runner. You know, the things he's been able to do in just such a short amount of time. He's completing 72% of his passes, and just been, you know, fantastic. And he's got a great presence to him. Got a fantastic supporting cast and a great defense. They've outscored their opponents 191-13, which is the biggest differential in SEC history through a team's first 3 games. So they lead the nation in scoring and ranked second in total offense. They've got great balance. They're averaging over 300 yards rushing and 300 yards passing, and then their defense is, you know, just outstanding. And total defense, I think they're first or second in the country in total defense at just 160 yards a game. So, but you know, everybody talks about the offense, but you know, justifiably so. But the defense is playing every bit as dominant and has not given up a touchdown in 16 quarters. So, you know, they rank 3rd in points allowed in the country. So they've got 4 outstanding receivers. They've probably could put up even more yardage in statistics individually if they played, you know, more than half the game. And they've got 4 receivers that have over 100 yards receiving as well. They've only punted twice this year, and so that's another challenge for our guys. And you know, our guys will be looking forward to the challenge. And as I've said all along, you want to be challenged and you like to compete, and they recognize and respect the things that, you know, the University of Tennessee has done, you know, through 3 games this year. Squirrel White is one of the best punt returners in the country. He's averaging over 20 yards a return, and he's a fantastic receiver. And then their running back, number 6, Sampson, is again very, very explosive as a running back for them. So they're really good. And then on the other side of the ball in defense, again, James Pierce is, you know, he might be the best guy in the country on defense. So. And they're really experienced up front, very disruptive, very athletic. They're long, explosive. they've got several new guys in the back end, but man, they've got length. They can run sideline to sideline. They're playing really aggressive. They mix it up, got good balance to what they do, and then their special teams their special teams units are, again, well coached, aggressive, led by Mike Eckler, who was a former GA here and a former linebacker, locker room comrade of mine at Kansas State, and he's done a fantastic job wherever he's been, and certainly doing that there for them right now. So going to be exciting. Looking forward. Going to have a great week of preparation. It's going to be a game that we don't have a chance to win. Don't have to play perfect, but we're going to have to play well. And you're not going to play poorly and beat these guys. So our guys are looking forward to the challenge, and have a long history, and like a lot of people at Oklahoma, with Josh, a good friend of mine, and his wife Dawn and their family. They've just everything that Josh has represented in his career, and just as a human being, as a coach. Man, he's first class in every way. So he's had a long history here, and again, he's done a great job everywhere he's been, whether it's Utah State, Missouri, UCF, certainly Tennessee. And winners know how to win, and that's what he's done. So cool to see that.
Start in the middle, right side here.
Josh, this is probably one of the biggest home games Oklahoma's had in at least the last dozen years. Can you talk about home field advantage, crowd atmosphere, how much that's going to mean in a big game like this on Saturday night? Yeah,
you want to, the history in the SEC, it's really difficult and challenging to win on the road in the SEC. And, I will not be surprised if that's the kind of atmosphere that Oklahoma creates. It's going to take that. That's part of it, as well. But I think, we'll have the center stage in college football on Saturday night, and our fans won't disappoint.
Yeah, Brent, you talk about Tennessee's offense and Nico and all the challenges there. How important is it to get a consistent pass rush against this group, and how do you think yours stacks up here through 3 games and heading into this one?
Yeah, incredibly important. They do a lot of RPOs, though I don't know how it ranks in regards to who's running the fastest offense in college football, but they got to be right there if they're not number one. And so they go incredibly fast. So the things that go along with that's to neutralize you in lots of ways: your communication, your fundamentals, your ability to get lined up, your ability to put your eyes on the right stuff. So that, and again, in their presentation, it is a legitimate run. And so at any point in time, the quarterback can pull it out of his belly and throw it to, the space, wherever the space is. If that's over the heads of the linebackers, or if that's on the perimeter game. And he's got an amazingly quick release and tremendous velocity and accuracy that allow that RPO game to really get into a great rhythm. And so if we can get him in definitive passing situations, again, they've got a veteran offensive line. We went after one of their starters in the transfer portal market, a great player for them, their left tackle. And I really have a tremendous amount of respect for how they play up front. They are really aggressive. Cooper Mays, their center, somebody I know their family, and Cade Mays, his older brother, played at both Georgia and I believe at Tennessee as well. And man, he plays with an edge. He just plays the position. Their whole offensive line, when they get down in their stance, man, they're getting down with authority, and they're sending a message, and they're incredibly physical. This will be. And then again, every SEC you're going to hear me say it. I just watched the tape. They play a physical brand of football, and I just have a lot of appreciation, respect for what that looks like. And one of the best offensive lines I've seen in a while. and having faced several SEC teams through the years, this is one of those offensive lines, in my opinion. And so it's a great challenge and great matchup for our defensive line, our linebackers, and again, we've done the right things so far. You know, we're developing as well. And I like a lot of things that we've been able to put on tape, and some things I don't like. You know, we got to get better, and that's I believe that every game throughout the year it's going to look like that. You know, some good, some not so good. But you want more good than not, obviously. But I've got a great appreciation for where our guys are at right now too, and the direction that they're hungry, they're driven, they show up to work, they've got great self-awareness. They're not, you know, pounding their chests. They know that the challenge is going to be very real each and every week over the next several weeks. And for us to have a chance to win, they're going to have to play well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've said it, you've not played as well as you wanted to. They played about as well as anybody could. Mm-hmm. But can that change in week 4?
Yeah.
I mean, can a team sort of blossom?
Yeah, my expectation is we're going to play our best 4 quarters of football on Saturday night in all 3 phases. That's the focus. You know, we've laid out a plan this week that allows us to do so, and we got to work our butt off. You know, we got to make sure that we get the plan down early in the week, and so that we can, you know, fine-tune that plan and the fundamentals, the physicality, the good-on-good work, and then you got to take, you know, the player's responsibility, all those things that you learn and the habits that you've developed and built upon throughout the course of the week, then you got to take that to game day. And it's going to be incredibly emotional, and they'll have great passion and energy and enthusiasm, and those things are great. But that only lasts so long. This is a game of physicality and a game of execution, and so that's what we need to be able to take to the field, and that'll allow us to play well and you know, well enough to win. You know, whatever it takes to win, and that's again the focus. But certainly, Barry, to your question, can that happen? Absolutely. You know, the next opportunity is, you know, sitting right in front of us, and that's where our eyes are fixed.
Jenny.
I've got 2 questions about Josh when he first got here in '99. I mean, I'm sure you and Mike were out trying to find players, so you're probably not paying too much attention to what Leach is doing. But do you remember sort of first time you met Josh and just sort of what you heard about him? And I mean, Leach had to have a quarterback for that offense. Just what was your sense of things at that point? And then you said at SEC Media Day that Josh really changed the locker room culture, which that defense was so good. Like, I'm curious what the impact over to the defense even was.
Yeah, those are great questions, and I'll be a true serum here. We wanted Akili Smith, Mike and I. We were only here for a couple of days, and we were at Kansas State, and we knew Mike recruited California, and Akili was coming out of whatever junior college, Mount Sac or somewhere, and he was the prototypical dude. I can't remember how big he was, but he was a big, strong, strapping dude that could spin it. He looked the part, could run, could pass, and we didn't know anything about Josh, but he was outside of the office windows. There's a quarterback, he's on a visit, and there was maybe 2 guys on a visit, and he was one of them. And he was outside we had an old turf field down there, and he was playing catch. And again, I'm saying this with incredible appreciation and respect for Josh. Couldn't have been more wrong. Don't judge a book by its cover. And he was skinny and just frail, and it was in the middle of winter, just kind of pasty, and the ball was coming on. It was southpaw, probably hadn't played in, you know, a couple of months, and the ball was wobbly. You know, Josh could occasionally do that, and we're like, that ain't it. And Leach, he didn't want to bring Akili Smith in on a visit. No, not interested. And so, lesson learned. But Josh, amazing, you know, work ethic and humility. Same guy every day. Didn't try to be anybody that he wasn't. Incredible, again, humility, respect for his teammates. But he bridged, and and I don't know what the culture was like before we got here, so it's not really fair for me to say that he changed it, other than there was some brokenness, and he brought people together, and he was able to relate to people regardless of what they come from. And that's a cool thing about a locker room, but sometimes it's not as easy to get it to mesh, everybody from all the different backgrounds and whatnot, but it was for him. And he led the way. Offense to defense is one of his best friends was Torrance Marshall, and is still to this day. And if you know Torrance, and he went to South Dade High School and South Miami, and of course Josh is from Aberdeen, and they couldn't come from two completely different environments. And to watch those guys pretty quickly bond and become friends and help the locker room, amongst others. There was plenty of guys that helped create a culture, but Josh led the way. And so he's always been a leader, and again, he's always had this innate ability to have great poise, great focus, but also have some fun. That competitive balance that allows you to be loose and confident and precise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, kind of going off that with Josh, it's been 10 years since he was the offensive coordinator here. I know that didn't end probably the way that anybody wanted it to. What do you think just his legacy is here at OU, and how do you think the reception will be for him with the fans when he comes back here on Saturday? Yeah,
I mean, I know, speaking from coaches and again also being a fan, I was a fan too. There can't be someone with a stronger legacy. He's a national championship coach, and timing's everything. And there was a period where Oklahoma hadn't had a winning season for I don't know how many years in a row was it? 5 straight years of not going to a bowl game, and the first year going 7-5, and then out of nowhere, to go 13-0 in several games within that year. Oklahoma was an underdog, or again had to come from behind in those games where you really felt Sooner magic was reignited, and he was a catalyst of that. And people won't forget that. And that's just, as we all know, man, that's one of the coolest things about college football. It brings so much joy. You reflect to so many moments that enriches your life because of those moments of success and winning and overcoming. We all feel like we were a part of that. And so both personally and then professionally. And then again, make no mistake, Oklahoma fans are going to see Coach Heupel, take a loss on Saturday night. And there will be nobody that, feels bad if they don't do well. We know that. But people pull for people, and I think this is one of those times that you put the logo aside, and he's got an amazing legacy at this university, and again, sometimes God, his way's the right way, even though we don't understand it, and we make a hard right-hand turn, and he's got something better for you, and that's exactly what happened, for Josh and his family.
Mm-hmm. Brent, Jackson, 3 of his first 4 starts, been really tight football games. Same with Provo as well. How important is that, the development of a young quarterback to be in those situations? Yeah. And what have you guys learned about how he handles that pressure?
Yeah, poised under pressure. He's handled everything, perfectly. How I look at it, because we won every time. And I say that doesn't mean that there's not moments. Again, lots of moments that you learn from. Even like last week, I had an amazing first half, great rhythm. We come out for first drive of the second half. I think it's 13 plays. We had to settle for a field goal. A lot of good in there. I think we start the next drive. It starts up pretty good, and then we have the drive. We have kind of back-to-back drives where we had lots of different little breakdowns. But on first and 10, he gets the drive started and throws quick, and it's going to be 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7, and we had our tackle was not lined up on the line of scrimmage. And now it goes to 1st and 15, and then we have a protection breakdown. We got a freshman running back, and we get a free hitter on the quarterback. He actually breaks the tackle, and got to learn as a young quarterback that happens. And he saw a guy, but he throws it in the middle, and Dion was initially open, and he tries to throw it to him after he breaks the tackle, and the backer slid right underneath, the route and takes it in and scores. So that's a learning opportunity for him. Fortunately, we were able to still win the game, and that was, to me, not the first mistake that he's made. He's in a long line of guys that have, coaches and players that have made mistakes through 3 games. But the first, oh, golly, no, don't do that, And, all right, come here, because you got to go back out there, and you get your arm around him, and, hey, man, don't throw it late over the middle. That one in there, you throw the ball away, you just run the ball. And I loved how he responded. And, did a great job, obviously. In the 4th quarter, we scored 10 points. He does a good job of bam, 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 doing a lot of things right, putting it behind him, learning from it, and just there's growth in that. And that's how you get better. You want to do it through success and victory. But as we know, young players, they don't have this depth of experience and been there, done that. And so you want to try to help them. We got to do a good job of helping. That's our responsibility as a staff, is to identify how you can help. If that's protections, if that's play calls, it's how you're setting things up. Players got to go play. Players got to execute. Players got to play fast and sure of themselves. They got to be, the confidence and the precision and the aggressiveness comes through their preparation. But we got to do a good job of always helping them, being conscious of what's going on in the flow of a game and make the adjustments along the way. And we could have helped him there in that situation, that particular play, that drive. And but in all those scenarios, he came in that BYU game, and on 4th down, in a 0 blitz, throws a dart, and even after that interception, I think maybe 2 drives later, with the next drive, we have another protection breakdown. He kind of screwed the drive up to a certain degree, and then the next drive, it's 3rd and maybe 9, and he throws a dart, man, right on time, clears the linebacker, anticipates, throws a guy open, and it hits him in the belly, we drop it. And so that's when you're like, all right, he's doing all right. And so anyway, that'll be how he improves and gets better, is through some of those valleys of a game, that are going to definitely happen. But he's handled adversity well. You mentioned it. We've had a lot of scenarios that maybe sometimes you don't have in the first few games, that I think we'll be able to look back and rely on, if that's 4-minute, if that's 2-minute, if that's how to start fast, in both the first half and both the second half, if that's how to overcome maybe a disaster drive. And now let's go win this thing. Let's go put this thing out of reach. And he did that. And so there's lots of those moments, particularly in the last couple of games, that we'll be able to rely on, later in the season and pull from.
Brent, Josh has become his own offensive coordinator. I know he comes from a certain offensive tree.
He calls the plays.
He does.
Yeah.
And so, but the way he does things, he's morphed into, he still does the splits and things like that. They're going vertical. He's very aggressive. Yeah. Talk about that challenge of trying to keep that offense in the tempo. They get some plays off in 8 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, they're really good. And, they got very good players. They've recruited good players. Some older guys that have been in the system. They understand the system. And they've got great skill. They got size, they got speed, and they put tremendous pressure on you with their scheme, their tempo, and their ability to be precise. And then on top of that, really good skill. So, it's really tough. And some of it's coming off of, again, off of those play fakes or an RPO situation too. And so many teams don't necessarily present that. They might have a few RPOs here and there, but this team is, built from the beginning of the game to the end. Man, they're putting great pressure on you. So I love the challenge. It's anybody knows me. I have a great You know, I'm just got to read what the stats are. Some people might be like, you know, brag on our own guys. Well, these are the things we're looking at, and this is the challenge. And I like getting the guys on the edge of their seat. Our guys, they know, you know, and I thought our guys have a great maturity. They've had a we call be a pro. You know, be a pro. You show up to this building, man. You flip a switch. You know, again, how you think, how you work, how you take notes, how you study film, have respect for the game, have respect for the process, and this process will reward you when you respect it every single week, like it's the biggest game of the year, because it is. And so that being said, you know, it doesn't take them long to watch the tape either, and you know, I'm going to call it exactly how it is, and again, this will be a fantastic, amazing environment, and one where, again, I think the strength of our team is our defense. That's where we have the most experience, guys that are veterans in this system. We've got good competitive depth there without a whole bunch of injuries, you know, where we haven't necessarily been exposed. You know, you lose a few guys, and all of a sudden you don't have competitive depth. You know, and you might have another guy, but you know, there's nothing else behind him. So that's you know, we're fortunate from that standpoint. But it'll be the biggest test that we've had to me offensively since we've been here.
Yeah, Brent, last week you made the joke about the Velcro being on Kobie McKinzie's chest, and just the development and growth that he's shown in the last year. Maybe not so much on the field, but what's changed off the field to get him to where he's at now?
Well, I bet you one of the things he might say, he's got an amazing family, so they give him great support. Instead of peppering him with negative seeds, like, well, maybe you need to go somewhere else, or you need to start over, you know, really just supporting him. And like, hey, man, hang in there. This is part of the growth. You'll be all right, you know. And then his teammates. I like to say, you know, it's a lot of encouragement from his coaches, but teammates are the one to me that have been patient with him, have helped him think the right way, nurtured his development process. Hey, man, let's go watch film together. And Kobie's an incredibly mature guy. He's a self-starter. He's self-driven. He doesn't need anybody else to show him how to turn the machine on, you know. And you know, he's a very driven, consistent, you know, a young man that just has a lot of really good habits that have helped expedite his growth and development too over a course of a couple of years. But he would tell you his teammates have been probably his place where he'd call a sanctuary, you know, where they've helped him have the right perspective, you know, along the way, so that he can go right back at it, you know, even when he's not getting the results that he wants.
Brent, you mentioned him at the beginning, but I wanted to ask you about Armason Thomas. Obviously, the big plays in that fourth quarter against Tulane, but maybe how important was that for him, a guy that did deal with some injuries through the first couple seasons here? And how'd you maybe see him get through those injuries the first couple of years, and how important was that for him, you know, to have that type of game heading into conference play? Yeah, well, he's got incredible faith. He comes from a very single mom, very spiritual family, so he's got great support. He's got a great foundation, so his perspective was pretty strong. Along the way, through the frustration, he would be the first to tell you, very frustrated. And the high ankle sprains they're just, sometimes you would rather, all things being said, a fracture is better than a high ankle sprain, because the sprain is every bit as painful, but it just takes time. Different than, you know, you can put screws and put a cast on, and hey, at 6 weeks, man, you're gonna get out of that thing and you'll be back to better than ever. And and then Coach Chavis, who does a great job relationally with his guys and keeping them in a good headspace, continue to believe in him and help him, you know, travel the choppy waters that come along with the things that you're talking about. So.
Brent, kind of going off that, we saw a couple times on third downs, Armason and Trace drop back to linebacker with Danny and Sammy come up to the edge. What do you like about that rush package, and is that a wrinkle that maybe Zach introduced, or have you done that in the past?
Yeah, we've done similar things for a long time. When you have the personnel that not just are good athletes. A good athlete doesn't play good football necessarily. And so guys that know what to do, they know how to do it, they have instincts for it, they're natural at it, there's some experience in doing it, not just to do it because you saw someone else do it. And those guys, you know, when Trace first got here, he wasn't ready to do that. You know, when R. Mason got here, he wasn't ready to do that. We weren't there yet. But if that's what, again, you want to lean on your personnel within the situation. And so speed and athletic ability are important, you know, but having good, tough physical football players are every bit as important that can execute at a high level. So they're both going to play that, you know, God willing, you know, Trace and R. Mason amongst others, PJ, that group of guys, they're going to play that position, you know, in the NFL. And they have an opportunity to go to the NFL, that versatility, you know, that outside linebacker. We call them defensive ends. You know, they just sometimes happen to play a linebacker hybrid. But, you know, when we recruit guys, we like guys that are that have, you know, that type of skill set. But you got to be able to set edges. You're going to go against guys like we're going to play this weekend, and you got to be able to hold up. And those guys have shown the ability to do that at a high level. So, but that's a fun thing to do when you got guys that can be really good at it, and that's where we're at, you know, from that standpoint. Really like their progression and the things that, you know, the coaches are doing with those guys.
Brent, teams haven't had a lot of success running the ball against you these first couple weeks. How big has DJ Terry been in that, and what's it been like seeing him year 2 in the system?
Yeah, he had his best game, and I think I might have mentioned it. He had a high hamstring issue during, might have been 10 days, 2 weeks of fall camp, and the end of the summer, into fall camp, and then, so that affects a big man, you know, that's 330 pounds or so, and he's playing really good right now, playing quick. As much as he's holding the point and being a good knockback point of attack guy, and he's really, again, he's in a different spot than where he was a year ago at this time, with his knowledge and his fundamentals and his technique and his ability to play to his strengths, which is power and his size, and then he's been a really good leader. He's had a fantastic attitude. Again, loves to work, and so that group of guys have really transformed, and he's been a big part of that transformation there. But really proud of, you know, his work and where he's at right now, the level he's playing.
Brent, a couple of quick things. With them playing, I mean, they are crazy fast. You had a couple of late play calls in defensively. How big a strength? What all goes into getting ready for that type of tempo with that in mind?
Yeah.
And the other thing is just what are you expecting offensively? You've got Hickman, Nick, and Andrell, 3 kind of talented guys.
My saving grace on the injury front now. I can't get anything right. I'm just trying to, you know. Anyway, I think that report comes out tomorrow. So everybody will have equal access to that, and not even gonna come across my desk. I'll go to practice, and whoever is out there, that's who will be there. So you guys will, and every day I think there's a new report out each day. So save everybody the time and frustration and everything else.
But what all goes into
I mean,
getting that
their
ball
availability.
in?
Yeah, that, I mean, you know. So, you know, might sound like an excuse, but continuity, consistency, confidence comes from having a set group of guys. Maybe where you look at linebacker where we were a year ago, we were certainly better than year 1 where we only had 3 guys that could go out there and play. Year 2 we had, and all of our backups were freshmen, and they played like freshmen. They played like this, you know. And you mentioned Kobie. And Kobie could not go out and play. You know, he and Kip could not play winning football. for us. And same thing when guys aren't practicing. It's hard to play winning football unless you have this depth of experience. And there's a few of those guys that you mentioned that do have experience, not as much here. Some of them do here, some of them aren't. And so that plays a part. And you just kind of adjust every situation on its own. And we've had a lot of them. And is he available today? You know, I told you a week ago, I guess I'd been the week prior, you know, one day, Petway, all of a sudden he was out. He's like, where is he? Well, you know, he hurt his knee and fell on it, and he's had some history of it, so we took him to get an imaging. And then the next day he's a little bit gimpy, but next thing you know, he's available for the game. He's full speed, you know. And for me, I'm a linebacker coach. I'm pretty practical. I'm like, I don't get that, you know. But you get anyway. It doesn't have anything to do with Jacquez. It was a precautionary thing, and I'm all about that. But and then your other question.
Well, it was just about what all goes into getting that play call in faster.
Yeah, so welcome to the life of a defensive coordinator. So how many did you count the other day?
I don't know.
I just know we didn't have any busts from a late call, and so that's a win.
But it's just so much faster.
Yeah, I'm only snickering because we literally live and die in that world. I try to every once in a while I'll get out of there and I'll go in the offensive room so I don't have to live there anymore. That's very peaceful to live in that space. If I could be reborn again, I would 100% come back as an offensive coach. Respectfully. So, but it's managing that it's everything. Because, you know, at the end of the day, if you can get lined up, if you can play with great fundamentals, great pad level, if you can be physical as a result of that, be confident as a result of that, then, you know, you have a chance to win. And if you can't, it's not a matter of winning, it's a matter of how bad are you going to lose. And so that's everything. I think defenses top to bottom have been better than they've ever been in handling that. But this is the stiffest challenge that we'll have, and there'll be several other teams that play with tempo throughout the year. But this will be the strongest one up to this point in time, and one of the hardest in all of college football. A lot goes into it, and so you try to emulate it, simulate it. Our offense does some tempo. You try to do some things structurally, how you practice, that can emulate that tempo and that sense of urgency, and you don't have long to get a call and line up and execute and get your eyes in the right place, make the right adjustments off of the call that you got based on, defense's trained reaction. You have to react to the offense, not the other way around. And so there's always those things that happen post communication from the sideline.
Yeah, Brent, your offensive coaches may disagree with your assessment here when I ask this question. They've scuffled through some injury problems, obviously, but it's been tough for the offense to sustain drives. It's been also tough for the offense to have big plays in the running game and the passing game. You've talked a lot about Tennessee and how good they are, how talented they are at offense and defense. Is there an urgency? Is there an added urgency this week to sustain drives, to hit a big play, to get somebody free in the run game, or anything beyond what you've already, first 3 games?
I don't know what the level would be, but we've been talking about that since back in early spring, and the ability to create explosive plays is, has got to be one of the most important things that you do from an offensive standpoint. To put pressure and stress on the defense, you have to be able to attack them vertically. Play design's a part of that. Players are a part of that because you got to make plays. There's presentations to create those things, but that can also add to that. And so everything that adds and you put it all together, that it's all really important. In the run game, we had some good runs, and the exact same thing the players heard is, man, that's got to, that 6-yard run should be a 25-yard run. That 15-yard run should be a 40-plus or house call. And we haven't been there, and we're a little closer. We got to make people miss on that third level. That's what good players do. You got to make plays, and we got good players, and sometimes they make a good play too. So I think you would be negligent to discount the defense making a good play in space, but the ability to make people miss, run through trash, make something happen, and you know, when you play, you know, on game day. Again, sometimes the margin for error is bigger than others, and but that's a very, if you can't create explosive plays, you know, you're allowing the defense to just keep creeping closer and closer and closer and making everything harder. So we got to be able to establish the run with a more explosive, persistent mindset to create opportunities in the passing game. And the more successful you are in running, it's going to, you know, make things a little easier in the pass game. And we haven't had much margin for error. Everything seems to be a little bit harder than you want it to be. And there's issues everywhere. Yes, 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 yes. And it starts with us as coaches. That's where it all begins. You know, helping them be successful, both in, you know, protections and play calls and in regards to the route combinations, and certainly in the run game, your presentation is a real thing. And then again, you have to be mindful too, where you have some young players where you're not putting too much on them, you know. So where's that balance? And we found a really great rhythm in the first half against a sound defense, and they do a great job there. Coach Summer on their staff. We're going to play better players. We're going to play every bit of the coaching acumen. You know, that challenge is real, and so we got to continue to work hard, diligently, both in our staff room and you got to look at everything, and that's our responsibility. That's my responsibility. You look at everything, you question everything, make sure everybody's on the same page, and at the same time, you let, you know, people do a job that you hire them to do, and we're working hard to do that. And you know, there was many steps that were looked at as progress, certainly, and improvement, and but we got a lot more. We got a great ceiling, in my opinion, and something that we're, again, looking forward to, again, just getting back out on the practice field and getting after it and developing the confidence and the continuity that, you know, is going to lend credibility to things you're talking about.
Thank you, Coach.